Welcome to our program of Family Matters. Family Matters is a program that's geared to everyone in the family, trying to help our families to get back to where they're supposed to be, united, one body of Christ, helping our children to become the future men and ladies of the society and the church. I'm very honored, privileged to have my friend, co-servant, Adly Youssef from Ottawa, Canada. He is a father of two young, beautiful ladies, and he is a certified parenting coach, and he helps a lot of families using a parenting positive attitude. Welcome, Adly. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Dr. Hani. It's a pleasure and a blessing to be here with you.
Thank you. The topic we chose today for our audience is how to deal with a very strong-willed, stubborn child. And as just a beginning, and until we get more questions, I would like you to define who or what is a stubborn child and how do they actually present?
Yeah. So allow me to start by actually acknowledging the feelings of some parents who might be watching us and maybe intrigued by the title Stubborn Kid. And they think, yes, this is exactly where I'm stuck at home. And the feeling of why do they do that? Why don't they listen from the first time? Why do they have to make me feel like I'm failing as a parent or I'm a bad mom, dad? And yes, we acknowledge that these are not the best feelings to have. But the truth is that many parents have managed, with God's grace, to turn things around into a more positive connection, positive outcomes and feelings for them and their kids. And from what we have seen, I'm sure that many parents who are watching us can do the same too. So this is just to acknowledge that it is not something good to have. It's a struggle, but there's always hope when parents have decided to adopt the correct parenting mindset and utilize the correct parenting approach, which we're going to discuss during our time together. So back to your question, Dr. Hani. It's actually very difficult to define or restrict the definition and confine it into one sentence or one description, just for the simple fact that there is lots of varieties in families, in personalities, in situations, in encounters between the kids, in their age differences between one family and another. So because of this, you will find parents that they come and complain, they are frustrated, and they are describing the stubbornness according to their definition, according to the situation. So a parent in a family who has a toddler, he would come to you and say, my 8 months old is very stubborn because he already is spitting the vegetable out of his mouth. He's choosing to eat something different. And no matter how much we try, he just keeps spitting all the vegetables, peas, the broccoli. So this is stubborn for them. And another family also with a toddler who is like sitting on the feeding chair. He discovers his new game. I drop it and you pick it. I drop it and you pick it. 30, 40 times a day just to test how strong the parent is. This is, again, a case which is described by many parents as very stubborn. Why is he doing this? And then if we go up with the age to 2 years old, like a daughter who suddenly decides that she's going to the liturgy on Christmas Eve wearing her running shoes because she decided that it matches the new dress. And the mom is going crazy. We are not leaving the house like this. No way. And again, frustration. Why is she doing that? If we go up to another scenario where a 4 years old or 5 years old who wants to show you how clever he is, now he is grown up, he's not a baby anymore. So he's jumping from one chair to the other in the living room to the sofa without breaking his neck, just to show you how clever he is. And we keep going up with the age. There is a 7-year-old girl. She thinks that you are a very mean mom. because you are not allowing her to have a sleepover with her new best friend. And of course, the mom not only doesn't she know who are the parents of this new best friend, but she doesn't know who the best friend is. She just brought her name up all of a sudden. And she insists that she needs to have a sleepover at her house. And again, if we go up, we find parents who have like 10 years old, 11 years old boys. They tell the parent there is nothing wrong with 4, 5 hours fortnight a day. You are just trying to deprive me of any or take away any fun in my life. The dad is really in shock and is like frustrated because of this situation, which almost happens every day. And if we go also to another age, 14 years old, 13 years old, and they don't want you to worry about their friends. They tell you in their own way, hey, dad, just chill, or mom, chill. I know exactly what's going to harm, and hanging out with these friends is not going to harm you. And another difficult situation. If we go 16 or 17, we might have a parent who is seeking someone to talk to their kid so that they focus on their studies, grade 11 or grade 12, so that they can secure a place in a good college. While the teenager is in a different world, seeking his own way to add more subscribers to his YouTube channel or something like that. So all these kinds of scenarios, on top of all we call them the three major times in the day: the morning routine, the famous meal time, and the famous bedtime routine. And you can add as much scenarios as you can think of in these, where parents come and say there's lots of stubbornness in these times. So
yeah, and if you may,
this kind of manifestations is different among different families.
I want to just interject by saying, I think many of the moms and dads listening to you now and say, yes, he's speaking about our house, about my daughter who doesn't want her hair to be combed because it hurts, and my kid who hates this type of food and he wants the dessert first, and the daughter who really insisting on wearing a ripped jean on a certain occasion and her mom doesn't. So you have done a great job in giving us almost many of the stories that we all go through, and almost we understand. So get us there now, and why kids do that. I mean, are they doing this to annoy parents, or what's going on there?
I definitely want to go into this reasoning or causes behind this, but some parents might not actually relate to this a lot. We can tell them that there is titles of the manifestations before telling them the causes.
Okay.
I touch base on this, if you allow me, Dr. Hani, because
yes.
Sometimes it manifests itself as like the first and foremost manifestation or symptom is just plain opposition. I don't agree. That is not right. I have my own way.
Just no. Yeah.
Yeah. Another type is younger kids when they're crying, they throw the tantrum, or even the older ones, their outburst into hurtful, mean words. Another symptom of stubbornness is the aggressiveness, the yelling, the closing of the door, the walking in a very bad attitude from in front of the parents, and so on. And then also there's parents who say there is selfishness, unkindness. It's about me, my interest. No one in the family is being taken care of. It's only me, me, me. And another time it manifests itself as carelessness, indifference, negligence in their duties, in their homework, or a stubborn kid would just decide to isolate, avoid family discussions, gatherings, talks. And another famous one is avoiding spiritual activity. You do this, go to the hymns, to Sunday school, liturgy, I'm going to skip. And finally, one other more common one is seeking opinions of friends or just resorting to the internet to support their ideas by reasoning so they can argue more or tell you that what they're doing or deciding is the right thing. So again, these are some of the things that parents will talk about as symptoms of stubbornness. Why is this happening? That's again an important question. I can think of some indirect reasons,
Yes.
and are very direct reasons. So, for example, and again, this is not a comprehensive list,
Sure.
but for example, indirectly, the parents who would not accept the idea that the kid is growing and his awareness is increasing just because the fact that they are growing and learning and experiencing things around them, even their self-awareness starts to increase. So now he knows that he can jump from this chair to the other without hurting himself, just by putting his hands like this, his legs like that. And he says, see, I can do it. So if in response from the parent is not accepted or actually dealt with in a negative way, that's going to cause stubbornness on the long run. Another thing is an indirect cause is also the kids' exposure to the outside world, outside the home, outside the family, mainly the school and the online world, which actually sometimes causes internal conflict. The kids are like, why is this so different from what we were being told? Look, everyone here is doing this and it's normal. They're living actually a very fun life. Why do we have to do this at home differently? And another indirect reason could be when there is, or there was, especially when they were young, there was little focus on intentional teaching of some of the main important spiritual virtues like obedience, humbleness, service. So the kids didn't actually, these were not instilled when they were young. So they're now having difficulty in understanding this. And if we go to the more direct reasons, one of the very common ones for stubbornness is when the kids are not given the time or attention needed. We always say, and Dr. Hani, of course, you know this very well, that every human being has like a bucket inside that's called the bucket of attention. If this is not filled, they will not feel that they belong to this family if I don't give them this need of attention. So if I don't belong, I might as well search somewhere else or do something else that makes me feel belonging. Another reason, and this is a major one actually, the kids are not being heard. And they would say, my parents don't listen. There is very little or no sharing of thoughts, opinions, voices at home. And that's very harmful. Another reason, which is also direct, is the increased feeling of assumed knowledge. That's from the kids' side. As they grow, they are assuming that their knowledge, because of what they see on the internet, what they hear from their friends, their knowledge is sufficient enough to take their own decisions and make their own choices. And this kind of assumed knowledge leads to unhealthy self-reliance on their personal abilities. And another reason, which I believe could be the worst, is when we crush the souls of our kids by yelling, shaming, blaming, calling them names on their identity. This is actually the major, if not the major.
All right. I mean, I would like to get to those causes and almost dissect them a bit, because some of what you have said actually belong to bad parenting, not bad kids. We as parents tend to say, my kid is stubborn, but we never talk about ourselves and said, I'm not doing a good job as a parent. And I'm hearing some of the reasons are really for us not doing an adequate job and, for example, giving attention and trying to be kind and trying to listen and trying to praise and trying to encourage and trying to be less humiliating or belittling. So I think we as parents need to also humble ourselves when we listen to you, because maybe rather than we say how to deal with a stubborn kid, maybe a subtitle should be, should I be a better parent? Any comments?
Yes, actually, this is where uh, it all circulates in parenting. And
Yeah.
one very, very, uh, for myself, is a quote that helped me a lot. And when I was stuck in these situations many years ago, it just popped out in front of me. And at that time, I wasn't looking at it that way, that parenting is your own personal journey of growth. So for me, as a parent, I'm growing personally towards this perfect father figure. And this is where I have the responsibility towards my kid. And when parents realize that, this is the mindset. Actually, this is the first type of mindset that I would encourage every parent to adopt as they parent their kids.
Hmm.
The question is, what is your role as a parent? If we ask God, God, what would you like me to do as a parent? If I have this clear, if I have this very correct in my mind, I think everything else can go smoothly, or at least can follow this goal or this role in a better way.
Hmm.
So the answer to this specific mindset, as you mentioned, Dr. Hani, which is about me as a parent, when I ask God this question, He will let me know that you are my child, you are my representative. I want you first to experience me as a father and represent me and my love in front of us. So my
And
um,
I think parents need to understand they are appointed trustees or stewards
mhm,
by God to take care of the children. And by you giving a title for your kid that he's just a stubborn kid and nothing I can do about it, you're almost telling God you did not do a good job creating him, rather than I say, I am not doing a great job raising up your child, God. And I think that's where the dilemma here. We need to realize that those kids are royal kids. Those
mhm,
kids are God's kids. And certainly I have my own weaknesses. Certainly I am under a lot of stresses in the job and anxiety and stress of money and stress of traffic and all of that. But not that our raising the kids is a difficult task, but it's probably the most important task that God will sort of judge us upon. He may not judge us if you are an engineer or a pharmacist, but he will judge us if you have really did your job, praying for your kids, kneeling down on your knees, um, doing your best to praise and encourage and give second chances.
yeah,
I would like you to take us to, because the time is going and I don't want to get to half of the session without hearing your experience and opinion on how to interact, how to resolve, how to help uh, a parent and a child who are getting in a clash of minds. Let's call it, I am a stubborn dad, my son is a stubborn like me. How do we get along?
mhm. Well, when we start talking about solutions, parents get excited and they want to listen to the prescription.
Yes.
So me as a pharmacist talking with the language of pharmacy, I just want to make sure that everyone understands that successful Christian parenting does not work like medical prescriptions work. You come to me, I give you the solution and tell you use it for several days, and here you go. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So your kid is a new kid. Your problem is solved, but it doesn't work that.
Hmm.
In fact, Christian parenting to be successful needs two foundational concepts to be constantly always with us as parents every single day. The first we just mentioned is the parent mindset or the parenting mindset. This needs to be correct. And we mentioned one part of it. If we don't have all those four parts that we are going to mention now as a mindset with us all the time, how do we look? How do we understand this parenting journey? I think it's not going to be sustained for a long time. Even if I tell you the most important, the most useful tools in the world, if the mindset towards parenting is not correct, it won't be sustainable. So we mentioned my mindset towards my role,
Yes.
experience and represent the love of the Heavenly Father. What about my mindset or my relation to the kid? And you mentioned that, Dr. Hani. How do I see it? It is very important to remember that these are icons of Christ. What we tend to do is we label them with names and deal with them accordingly. This is the stubborn. She's aggressive. She is very shy. And according to this labeling on the identity, we are expecting the worst out of them. And anything or everything they do is just because they are blah, 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 is the label that we just said.
Hmm.
That's very harmful. So if we correctly identify or relate to them as icons of Christ, and God wants me to labor with Him to until Christ is formed in them, like He says in Galatians. So this is exactly the right mindset when I relate to my kids. The third one is, how do I look or how do I understand the challenges? Some parents feel, and they have actually the right to do so sometimes because of how much they are burdened and overwhelmed, that these challenges, we cannot take it anymore. It's too much. But at the same time, parenting happens in the challenge. This is an opportunity. So the right mindset, which is very difficult, but it helps a lot, is that the challenge becomes an opportunity. That's number three. And the fourth is, what do we understand about the parenting journey? Some parents may be parenting and seeking out of their parenting immediate compliance. But the parenting journey is a very long journey. It requires parenting every day for a lifetime. This mindset is very important. I'm parenting so when they leave home, they are mature spiritually and can take decisions when they are alone in the right manner. This is where my mindset is. This is how I understand the journey. It's very difficult, but it is very essential.
Hmm.
If we have this mindset, I just want to stop here and also take from you any reflection, any feedback around this, because before going into the parenting approach or the tools itself that help us connect with our kids, this parenting mindset is as I said, is very essential.
Yeah. The only thing I may like to not add, but just recommend, um, that sometimes we parents are very stressed and coming very tired and had a tough day. And
Mhm.
then a kid comes in and you know that it's going to be very difficult for you to be in good communications or in good manners. Just tell your kid, do you mind if you give me 10 minutes? Because you know that there will be a big clash now, not because the kid is annoying or stubborn or what he's asking is unrealistic, but maybe give yourself a little time. You want to be alone for 10 minutes? Fine. You want to take your cup of coffee and sit alone. You want to tell him, give me a break for 10 minutes. Some kids may not even understand what does that means, but sometimes we need that in order for us not to be reactive, as you said. The other point is, I think we as parents need to learn how to be tactful in not saying no to the no. If he says no to the vegetables, okay, I mean, it's just going to be no from me, no from her, and we don't know where we're going to end. But I think being tactful means, do you know what are the advantages of eating this? Do you know how many muscles you can gain if you do this? Okay, if you don't want to eat vegetables, what do you want to eat? Would you like to prepare the food yourself? Show me how can you eat if you don't. And if you don't want to eat, fine for today, but I'm not going to make another food. In other words, let's be always ready for some other tactics, because the problem that I'm seeing from the scenarios you have given us, and they are very almost everyday scenario, that it leaves the parents sometimes with just a clash of minds. And that's where I need your parenting coaching exercise and positive attitude towards how to parent better. How do I respond to the to I don't care, I know, a refusal, and so on?
Yeah. In response to this, we will find that parents actually have options. And
Yes.
it's a very, very important question. What have you tried to discipline your kid? What have you tried to help them when they are refusing to cooperate?
Hmm.
So you will find parents coming up with actually from their experience, and this is what is written in the books. They will come up with three different types of approaches. The very well known permissive approach. So this is simply let them do what they want, lots of freedom with very little or no limits. So this is giving the parent peace of mind. That's what they think. And there's no struggles, there's no frustrations, conflict, dispute, arguments, etc. Just let them. And actually, some parents justify this and say, you know what, just pray for them. They will be fine. No,
Hmm.
it doesn't work that way. This is one approach. The other one, which is very well known and parents have tried all the details of it, we call it the excessive control, sometimes called is it's called the
Awesome.
authoritarian, where to describe it in a very simple way, visual way to parents is you have the kid on a chair in front of you and you put your hands on his shoulder. After 1 minute, if I do this to any parent, they would look at me and say, move your hands. Why are you doing this to me? So imagine we are doing this to our kids for years. Excessive control. There is little or no freedom to choose, to will, to desire something, and there's always control from the parents. So, what's the third one? This is where we want parents to start thinking and adopting this. It's the positive discipline tools. And we here talk about the toolkit of positive discipline. But before going into this, actually, I want to give guiding questions to any parent. And if you want to write this down or want to memorize it, it's going to help you a lot. Any encounter with your kid, because you are a good parent who has good intentions, who wants to teach them good life skills, Christian values, etc., ask these two questions whenever you have an encounter with a kid. The first question is, what did the kid learn? You had something in mind to teach, to be organized, to respect the parents, to respect others, to be obedient, to follow instruction, and so on. So you want to teach them some value or skill. What did the kid learn from what just happened? The second question is, how did it affect your connection? Because every parent is keen on the connection. They want their kids to be loved, and they want also their kids to love them. So if I have those guiding questions, and I can honestly uh, come up with the answer myself, I think it will answer a lot of
Okay.
things for me. So what about the positive discipline? As I said, it's a toolkit. When we talk about these tools, we talk about them as things that we need to continue to try. Sometimes it might not work. We try another tool. We try to mix two or three things together and so on with every single situation that is different. And the scenarios that we mentioned, some tools might work, some tools might not work. It's not about, again, a prescription. So let's go into some examples. You mentioned a very important word, Dr. Hani, which is being tactful. And actually, one of the very positive discipline tools is asking instead of telling.
Yeah.
And here, to make this clear in our minds, I would encourage the parents to make friends with their language, make friends with the two words what and how. Make them your best friends. What does that mean? So instead of giving a direct request, which is it's not a problem. Like it's okay to give requests or to give instructions or directions or advice. That's okay. But sometimes you need to reduce this and use a question. What are you going to do in order to leave the house before 8 p.m. or 8 a.m.? So you're putting the limit, which is 8 a.m., but you're giving the child the chance to think and come up with a decision of his or her own. And here we are actually filling the second bucket. The first bucket, if you remember, was the attention. The second bucket is the bucket of power. That's a psychological need inside the kids. So when they have this need met, they feel that they are significant. I can make a difference. I am significant in this home. I can come up with choices or decisions for myself just by a simple question of what or how with the limit attached to it. What would you do or what can you do in order to, and you put the limit or the value that you want to respect in the same question. So this is one very, very useful, positive tool. Now, some parents, when we are coaching, they come and they laugh about this and they say, so you think that if I say what or how, this is gonna solve the issue? So the kid won't reply, the kid will not cooperate still? Yes. As I said, this is not a prescription. We have to adopt the mindset that this is a long journey where we are using and acquiring or walking with mindset and also trying as best as we can what can build the connection using the positive discipline.
One of the things I was thinking of or reading about again the same point is let's say I keep telling my daughter, put your clothes that they are in the floor in the closet. 2-3 days of clothes are thrown down and nothing is happening. One of the ways is punishing. One of the other ways is I'm not laundering your clothes. One of the ways I'm not bringing your new clothes. One of the ways can be I'm not entering your room until you find your own new clothes. But one of the ways that I like when I read that book says, why don't you play a game with your daughter and say, let's see how many pieces of clothes we can put back in the closet folded in the next, when I count from 1 to 10. And you can play the game with your daughter, actually, and you tell her, let's play the game together. I like that tactic because it gives the mom or the dad the power of almost not hitting heads with their kid, but rather making them do what they want in a playful manner, in a fun manner. And all of a sudden the room is clean. And then she tells her daughter, look how nice your room become. You can find your blouse anytime. Another example the toys that are thrown down, and he doesn't want to pick them. He plays with the toy and leave it. Again, there are many disciplines. There are many ways. You don't have to bring more toys. He cannot find the other toys, so you tell him because you don't do it. But again, playing a game of let's put the action figures in one place so they can play with each other. Let's put all the dolls together so they can sleep next to each other. Let's put the Legos together so they can build each other. And again, we can play it in a game of numbers. Let's do how many you can do, and I'll do the other corner. Let's see if you can get there before me, or put your toys before me there. So I like these ideas because we really want to get away from hitting heads and finding, because I know how to scream higher than my kid, then he will do what I want. Rather than I complain that my kid is really annoying and stubborn, let's find a different way. I think that's what we all want to learn with each other.
Mhm. And here it is very important, Dr. Hani, to understand that when you give the kids some control, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are losing yours. Because some parents wouldn't agree to do that, because in their minds, this is giving the kid the driver's seat. No, you are actually in certain limits, allowing them to choose for themselves what is acceptable for you. And it's respecting all the rules or the values or the limits, the standards that you have in your house. So this idea of just handing them the stick to do some of their own choices is
Yeah,
always like welcomed, and the kids accepted very, very happy.
right, exactly.
Other,
Yeah.
yeah,
What else you can help us with, especially if you can take some of the scenarios and bring back to us? Go ahead.
yeah. So another very helpful tool, which is almost a preventative tool, the kids who are constantly in a stubborn attitude or behavior, many of the times they are discouraged because of how many times they have been picked. The parents pick their mistakes or their negative attitudes and talk about it, point them out. So one of the tools that we can start focusing on a daily basis is to catch the kids doing good and
Mm,
catch them doing good and encourage it. But the encouragement here, they teach it in a very different way, in three steps. Instead
yeah,
of like our normal encouragement, say good job, well done, uh, great work. There is something called the three-step encouragement, where the first step is you specifically identify what the kid did. I saw you put your shoes. I saw you help your kid, your brother. So this is a specific action. I
yeah,
noticed you came and got your homework out. So this is the first step. And then this action that you have specified, you give it a name, which is the same value or principle that you want to teach. When you helped your brother like this kind of kindness or service, so you give it a name. And the third step, you say what it can, how it can influence or what it can do to him in the future.
right.
This kind of kindness or service to your brother will help you become a reliable person in the future. So I specified what he did, I gave it a name of the value, and I helped him envision the future if he continues to do it. And you know what? Kids will live up to the standard that my dad or my mom have been telling me that I will grow up to be XYZ or to be
Mhm.
this kind of person. This is a very, very helpful. Encouragement is like they always say it is food for the soul.
Yes, absolutely.
Specific way it has magic on our kids and prevents many of the stubbornness, and it feeds their need for attention.
I have couple of questions that came, but I want to start with this one, although it came last. My 7-year-old boy do not listen unless I threaten him by taking something valuable from him away, like electronics. Nothing goes peaceful. What should I do? He's very smart and stubborn. What do you think?
Okay, so let's ask the mom the same two questions, which can guide her to decide if she wants to continue threatening or not. And then we can offer a different choice. So the question, when you threaten, what is the kid learning? And how is this threatening affecting your connection together? So the kid is learning from threatening anything of the values and principles that you want to teach. That's a question. And is he actually building stronger positive connections with you that he would cherish, he would feel that he is keen on this relation? That's the second question. So if the answers are clearly negative, and I'm assuming that they are because threatening is not one of the positive tools, what options do we have? And in this situation, I heard that the mom saying it is a repetitive or constant situation. Is that right, Dr. Hani?
Yeah, I think that's what I would have said. The only
Yeah.
thing I wanted also to add, I think the mother also need to be, rather than using threats, which exactly as you said, can be harmful and not rewarding because it basically tells the kid, mom does not have any option. But I think she has to be tactful in the way of she wants him to do something. But rather than making him do the something, she takes something from him. It's almost like twisting his arm. But I think that she needs to convince him that the something she wants from him, let's say she wants him to go to liturgy the next day and he doesn't want to go. So she takes the iPhone. But maybe the best thing is to tell him, I want you when you go to liturgy, count the word peace and tell me how many times the word peace that came. I want you to keep looking at the screen and keep counting how many peace. And if you find the number that I know there, I will get you a little, let's say, a reward. So she made the activity that he is resenting as something that she wants he will enjoy, and there is a little reward from it. And all of a sudden, the phone here is not the issue anymore, because rather than she threatening to take something that has nothing to do with the activity that he is not doing, she's actually making the activity more enjoyable. There is another question for you or for us, because I don't know if this is related to the topic, but if you don't mind, I'm going to put it out because I don't want people to think we have not read it. Um, um, I have a 10-year-old son. He's always asking about the girlfriend in his class that they have. No, sorry. He's asking about girlfriend as his classmates have. I need some guidance in answering logically and biblically reflecting his age. She's also asking if we have any parenting books. Now, first, can you recommend any parenting books? I know you in the time before we were talking about some books that you may have some recommendation. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm sitting in the office here, and I have some of them actually with me. So one of the very good ones that can be read easily by parents is The Love Dare for Parents, and this in 40 chapters shows what love can do in parenting. And I actually recommend this as number one for any parent to learn from. One of the other ones, we're talking about positive discipline. Again, so this is Positive Discipline by Jane Nelson, and very, very rich with tools and the idea of using the toolkit to discipline our kids. A third one I also would recommend is the parenting, the Christian parenting handbook, full of principles, scenarios, 50 of them, 50 strategies in this valuable.
I wanna, if you don't mind, add, if you guys want more books, you can go to the Focus on the Family. There are Bringing Up Boys and Bringing Up Girls, two different books by James Dobson. There are Better Dads, Stronger Sons. There are also Boundaries with Kids by Henry Cloud and Parenting with Love by Foster Klein. Coming back to your question, Mom, we need to understand that attraction in teenage is normal and there is nothing unbiblical about it. However, I want to tell my son or my daughter that her hormones are not stable yet, and a lot of times decisions during the teenage may change after a few months when the hormones do something different. So I want to tell my daughter and my son that her body and his body is like the altar of the church, need to be preserved, revered, protected, and covered. And because he is like that altar and she is like that altar, the idea of having a specific friend, they call it a girlfriend, makes it a little bit awkward because everybody's my friend. But to have a friend in the way the media talks about, that means I'm exposing my altar to someone he has no right uncovering, touching, or invading because he is not the prince of that altar. And because of that, biblically, if you read 1 Corinthians 3 and 1 Corinthians 6, it speaks that your body is the body of Christ and the Holy Spirit dwells in it. And hence, the idea of boy and girlfriend may not be acceptable during that age. There is another question. Again, it's a difficult question to answer. How do you deal with autism, stubborn kids? And first, I want to say that those who have ADHD, ODD, autism, kids, God bless your children and bless you. I know this is not an easy parenting, but we pray for you and with you because you need all the wisdom in the world. But those kids grow to become amazing men and ladies, and many of them are very functioning and produce a lot of great things in the society. But just to give a minute or two of help, don't ever give instructions that loaded. You can't say, "I want you to put away your shoes, clean up your closet, and come and eat the vegetables." You have, with an autism or ODD, you have to give one instruction. Very simple, very clear. You may repeat it, and sometimes you may use a colorful cards to explain. You can also, you should occasionally ignore mild misbehaviors. You cannot just insist on everything to be perfect. It doesn't work. Time out, as we discussed last time, can be occasionally necessary, but you have to explain it before you actually execute it. Praise, as exactly my co-associate here has just explained in a very, very nice way. Praise goes far away with autism, even sometimes more than non-autism kids. When you give them a tap on the shoulder and a smile and a great hug and tell him you have done great. I'm very proud of you. I am so happy that you are my son. You did great. These praises, tactical, touching, voice, and facial expression goes far away. Milad, Adli, I'm getting to the last 10 minutes, and I want to see if there are areas that you needed to cover for the help of moms and dads, especially in the positive parenting part.
Yeah. I was actually thinking of some experiences and some complaints from parents that came throughout the past few years, and where they are stuck is a position where there's constant stubbornness and repetitive misbehaviors and negative attitudes from the kids. And when we go deeper, we find the major problem is that these kids have been yelled at, have been blamed all the time, have been put to shame, or actually heard themselves being called names, etc. So all this has led to this kind of attitude and behavior. And there is a crack in the connection between the parent and the kid. Now, if we start telling the parent, this is how you need to start teaching in a positive way, and tell them all the kid, all the positive discipline tools of how to focus on solutions, how to spend time and encourage, and all this, without the first step that I'm going to mention now, I think it's not going to help because there is a bridge has been broken, has been shaken, the bridge where any uh, anything from my side to the kid is going to pass. There's nothing going to pass. So how do I make amends? How do I restore the relation? This is something very difficult for many parents to do, but it is very essential in this situation. If things have been accumulating because of what I did, it is now time for humbling myself and
Yeah.
going to the kid and apologizing. I know it is difficult. I have been in this situation, but it makes a big difference with the kids when you come and say, you know what, the way I have been dealing with many situations was not the best. I shouted and I was not supposed to shout. I hurt your feelings. But you know what? I was trying to teach the right things, and I'm still going to be teaching the same values and principles, but I'm going to do my best to do them in a better way. I'm going to be firm on teaching those things again, but I'm not going to be using anything that is hurtful or making you put in or put you in the same situation. So with this, the kid understand that you're still there, you have the authority to teach, but the way that you were using was not the best, and you are regretting it. And we start again, we start afresh, and the kid will accept that, especially when they see you in weeks, months. And please remember that this is take time. The kid is going to be doubtful because of all the accumulations that happened in the past years. So with the humbleness, with the acceptance that things are changing, we can, as I said in the beginning, turn things around. It just needs your commitment, humbleness, and the time to see these things turning around.
I want to, in the last couple of minutes, also bring an example. A kid who doesn't want to do his homework.
Mm.
And I think mom and dad, number one, need to know maybe there are lots of homework being given. Just make sure this is not an over exaggeration by the teacher for a kid in that age. If this is not, try to make the homework a little fun. Make the kid do some leaps or running in the room for 5 minutes every time he does his or her home one page or two page, and you can run with them. Um, do the homework as in a different parts of the room, not always in the same exact area, so it's less boring. Um, give him a 10 minutes homework with 1 to 2 minutes break, and don't make the homework stay 1 hour. I mean, maybe his attention may not go for that. Um, make a bowl of ice cream and be ready for the next break, and tell him your next break you will be on ice. What I'm trying to say is, we don't want to always be screaming to our kids, do your homework, do your homework, do your homework. And he basically say no, no, no. Or he does something that's very mediocre, and at the end, he's not doing or not learning anything. Please, moms and dads, be more wiser tactful, be less screaming, be more praising. Try to think of tricks in a nice way in order to engage your kids in doing what you think is right for them. And do not overpower them to the extent because you are mom or because you are dad, you must do what I'm saying, regardless if this is making sense or not. You need to convince, you need to be patient because parenting is the most difficult job and the job that's very little thanks will be given to you, very long hours, and there is no real overtime being paid to you except in heaven. So I understand. I may be older than many of you who are parenting young kids, but I know exactly what you mean. And that's why I brought a specialist like Adly Youssef, who I am very, very grateful for your presence today, Adly. We really enjoyed your presence, and I hope you do not deprive us from your knowledge and experience in asking you to come again and again.
My pleasure, Dr. Hani, and I really enjoyed this time and looking forward to also get a blessing in future episodes with you and learn from the parents and from their questions and from all the inputs that you add.
Thank you very much. And thank you all. Please continue to send your questions. If I find them related to the same topic, I'll send them also to Mr. Adli and hope to see you soon. May God give you a blessed week and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hani.